Before we start, I would like to welcome Venerable Ebenezer Adewale, the Archbishop and the Dean of the Cathedral of Archbishop Vining, represented by Reverend Adetujoye Adefokpe, to lead us in an opening prayer. Please, shall we all rise on our feet? Thank you.
Let us bow down our head as we pray. Our dear Father in heaven, we return all praise to you for today. We thank you for your divine presence at every time. We thank you for the Ibidapo-Obe family and the foundation. May your name be glorified, Lord, in the name of Jesus Christ. Lord, today we have come. We want to learn. We commit our speakers unto your able hand. We ask, Lord, that you will inspire them to be able to speak to us from the depth of their knowledge. And we commit ourselves unto you, Lord, that you will grant us that grace to learn deeply from what will be shared with us in the name of Jesus Christ. Every activity of today is in your hand. May you take absolute control. We commit the committee that you have used to organize this unto your hand. May you inspire them the more in the name of Jesus. May you help them that this program will fulfill the purpose for which it was set aside in the name of Jesus Christ. At the end of everything, Lord, may your name be continually glorified. Thank you, Father. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen.
Before we go on, I would like to recognize the presence of our mother, beloved mom, matriarch. Please, can we celebrate our mom, Mrs. Olusola Ibidapo-Obe? Mom, please, can you see that? Can you do what they say that every man is a strong woman? Please, can we celebrate our mother? Lord, we love you, we appreciate you, we are seeing a lot of inspiration from you, and we really truly appreciate. Thank you for making the legacy of our father to live on. Thank you so much. This can we celebrate our words. I believe we are looking really very smart and really on this morning. Thank you. I'd like to also appreciate and recognize the children. Akiba Ibidapo-Obe, please. Can you address to us and listen to you? You know what? Okay, I'd like to also appreciate Omobola Ibidapo-Obe for work. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Then Oyetokunbo Ibidapo-Obe Shomori. Amazing woman. Thank you so much. Oyeniyi Ibidapo-Obe. Thank you. Please, can we celebrate this great family? I am also an alumni of Lagos State, University of Lagos State. I didn't tell you that, Mommy. I graduated from University of Lagos. Okay. Would also like to appreciate our fathers, our elders who are here this morning. Please, just allow me. I think I'm doing this on Mommy's instruction. Obakole Ojutalayo, Laroka of Wariki Ile-Ife. Daddy, I'm so sorry for... You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much, sir. You're welcome. Professor Peter Okebokola, you're very welcome. I saw you this morning. Thank you so much for coming. Please, let's appreciate these great people. Professor Rahamon Bello, former VC Unilag. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for coming. Professor Ogunye and Mama Ogunye. Thank you, Mommy and Daddy. We celebrate you. We appreciate you for coming. Professor Awonusi. Professor Awonusi. Okay, you're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. We'd also like to appreciate and recognize the brothers and sisters of our late father, Ibidapo-Obe. Please, brothers, sisters, family members, please can you rise up for recognition? You're all part of this. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being there. We really, truly appreciate you for coming this morning. I'm here representing Professor David Olowokere, founding chair of engineering, Texas Southern University, Houston. He's unavoidably absent this morning, and we're really trusting that today will be a very, very powerful there will be a lot of deliberations. I'm looking forward to all that will be shared today. And to take over from here, I would like to welcome Professor Awonusi, who was a former VC of TASUD, who is also a friend of the family. You're welcome very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Once more, on behalf of the family and friends of Ibidapo-Obe, OFR, FAS, and the Ibidapo-Obe Foundation, I welcome all of you to this special Memorial Symposium. Please permit me to go on with recognitions. some of our elders that have been identified, and quite a number, some of whose names are already listed here. While we await our special guest of honor and the chairman, it's my pleasure to welcome Professor Deji Badru, who from the U.S. Institute of Technology, Dayton, Ohio, who will be delivering the keynote address. You're welcome. Emeritus Professor, has been introduced, Professor Peter Okebokola, OFR, former LUC Executive Chair. You're welcome. Professor Phillips Adewale, Head, Computer Science Department, University of Lagos. Welcome. And our Papa, Chairman Chams, Sir Demola Aladekomo. You're welcome. Please can we put our hands together for him? We also have people who will be using for different things here. Mr. Olumide Shoyombo, who is the co-founder of Blue Chips Technologies. You're welcome. And quite a number of distinguished guests who are already here. Please can we just put our hands together as we recognize these people. I'm afraid not in a particular order, but just as listed here. So we welcome Omotayo S. Abiodun. You're welcome. And also Omotayo Taiwo. You're welcome. Shegun Okpeniyi. You're welcome. Please can we put our hands together for them? Mr. Kolawole Ajayobe, it's a pleasure to have you here with us. Mr. Ifeyiwa Adeshida, you're welcome. Professor Iyola Tela, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Dr. Kenny Ekins, you're welcome. Dr. Jacobs Uwachuku, you're certainly welcome. And so we welcome Ololade Shobanjo and Comfort Folorunsho, you're both welcome. Mr. Eo Yusuf, you're welcome. While at the same time, we welcome Professor Ogunwolu, Professor Sadiq, I think Dean of Engineering, you're welcome. Mr. Adebisi Adekunle, you're welcome. And Olariwaju Adeola, you're also welcome. It's also a pleasure to welcome Venerable Ebenezer Aderenle and also Mr. Bode Ajakaye. You're all welcome. Certainly we welcome Mr. Taiwo Bokno Shomolu. Just as we welcome Mr. Adewale Adelaja. Welcome. And same for Damilola Adelaja. Mr. Abiola Badiru, it's a pleasure to have you here. The Adedijis, Adekola and Oluranti, you're both welcome. Same for the Onosonyas, Funsho and Bidemi, you're welcome. And it's a pleasure to have Mr. Kuyeba Sunday. It's a pleasure to have you here. Certainly, it's a pleasure to also welcome Mr. Idris Mucha, just as we do welcome Mr. Atoyebi. We also welcome Builder Bagi Ibidapo-Obe. Of course, our papa has already been welcomed, Professor and Mrs. Ayogunye, the founding father of chemical engineering, Emeritus Professor in Ashifa. You're welcome. Now, Mrs. Badiru, you're welcome. Ms. Makinde Ogunyeye, you're welcome. So we also do, has been recognized before, but let me also do it, former Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos and the key member of the foundation activity, Professor and Mrs. Rahamon Bello, you're welcome. Professor Yolaoni, you're welcome. Mrs. Yetunde Oshunkeye, you're welcome. And still with the permission of Your Excellencies and particularly with the permission of KBSC, we will still welcome a few more. Quite a number of. It's also my very, very special privilege to welcome the lady who is at the helm of affairs of this university, the chief executive of this university, a distinguished professor of medicine in her own right, Professor Folashade Ogunshola, FAS, ON, Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos. Could you please come to the high table, please? Could you please usher her to the high table? You're welcome, Madam VC. I'm also delighted to announce that the chairman is now around, distinguished father, a very distinguished in everything, and an emeritus professor of computer science of this university, Professor Olaide Abbas, FAS, OON. You're welcome, sir. To request KBSC, we will need you at the high table, sir. KBSC, please. His Royal Highness Oba Kola Ojutalayo. Oh, sorry, Oba Bankole Ojutalayo. Please, can we put can we put our hands together for His Royal Highness? And we say, KBSC. It gives me pleasure also to invite to the high table our untiring father, Professor and Mrs. Ogunye, to the high table. Thank you, sir. And also, welcome to the high table is the matriarch of the Ibidapo-Obe family. Please, can we put our hands together for Mrs. Ibidapo-Obe once more? So it's a pleasure again to welcome Mr. Jide Ayovog, Mrs. Foluke Telabe, Professor Badru. It's a pleasure to have Mr. Tuji Lawal Shurari and Mrs. Sumbo Lawal Shurari. You are both welcome. It's also my great pleasure once more to invite to the high table the former ES of NUC, or Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission, and distinguished educationist, and Emeritus Professor, Professor Peter Okebukola. Please, can we put his hands together for him? See a reasonable allegation of chairs on the high table, and again, it's my pleasure to invite one of our supporters in technology and a very good friend, long-term friend of the Ibidapo-Obes, and who, of course, is the chairman of CHAMS, Sir Alade Komo. Sir Alade Komo, it's a pleasure to have you on the high table, sir. Once more, Sir Debola Alade Komo. Can I please invite to the front, well, I won't call it a front line, really, front row, Professor and Mrs. Bello, please. Professor and Mrs. Bello, please step forward. We already have, of course, Professor Badru on that row. Once more, it's a pleasure to have you here. Phillips Adewale around. For now, the introduction of guests is put on hold as we welcome the Madam Hostess, if you like, who is also the Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Folashade Ugushola, FAS, ON, to give us a brief welcome address. Madam VC.
Good morning and welcome to the University of Lagos. It's always a pleasure to be here and to be at this event. The last one was at the Senate, I think it was when we did the Zenith building opening, and I think I had just taken office then, so it's great to be here again. So the chairman of the occasion, Emeritus Professor Olaide Abbas, our distinguished guest of honor, Dr. Jim Ovia, the Executive Director, Oyewusi Ibidapo-Obe Foundation for Educational Transformation, Mrs. Olushola Ibidapo-Obe, the Deputy Vice Chancellors, Professors Ayo Ashenua, Chukwu, and Professor Bolanle Obo, the Registrant Secretary to Council, Mrs. Olakunle Makinde, the Bursar, Mrs. Adekunle, the University Librarian, Dr. Yetunde Zaid, the Provost College of Medicine, Professor Wale Oke, the keynote speaker, Professor Ayodeji Bodunde Badiru, Kabiesi Oba Kunle Ojutalayo, the Laroka of Wanikin Ile-Ife, members of the Board of Trustees, Professor Peter Okebukola, our father, Professor Francis Ayodele Ogunye and Mama Ogunye, Mr. Alade Komo, distinguished panelists, deans and members of the university community, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press. On behalf of the management, staff, and students of the University of Lagos, it gives me really great pleasure to welcome you all to the second Biennial Memorial Symposium in honor of our late Emeritus Professor Oyewusi Ibidapo-Obe, the 8th Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos in the time 2002 to 2007. Let me at this juncture recognize the presence of the 11th Vice Chancellor, Professor Rahamon Bello, who is a mentor to me and to many of us. I also want to thank the organizers for choosing this topic, moving the world beyond big data. I am eagerly awaiting the keynote lecture because there's no doubt that knowledge is the currency of the 21st century, and there will be no development without the qualitative development of its human capital. Data, as we all know, it is the new oil. It is the new driver of development. Our data is constantly being collected in the digital space, and using analysis of our browsing and other digital habits and choices, this is used to evaluate who we are, our preferences in the initial for adverts, but in its darkest form can be used to control our minds. In the educational space, we generate a lot of data, which if properly harnessed and analyzed will improve the learning experience of students, the efficiency of the university, and transformational development in the country. The University of Lagos continues to improve its competencies and capacity in the area of big data and its associated fields, such as machine learning and artificial intelligence. Our researchers are working to expand the boundaries of knowledge in AI, especially as it relates to Africa. For example, researchers from Unilag have set up Edu AI Hub to advance AI research and its application to education. In addition, our students are building several solutions using AI and harnessing African-oriented data to drive solutions in the health sector and for food security. The university has also set up a data management team to make her decisions more data-driven. This is possible because of the vision of past vice chancellors of this university and the seamless continuity between administrations. Professor Ibidapo-Obe was a visionary. He recognized early the importance of technological integration in education and the implementation of technological solutions for teaching, research, and administrative processes. In 2005, he established the Center for Information Technology and Systems, which is at the heart of the digitization of the University of Lagos. He also saw to the successful implementation of the VSAT intranet, which connects the University of Lagos and the Idiaraba campus. His administration therefore laid the foundation on which the others have built, and Unilag is inarguably one of the most digitized public universities in Nigeria. He also recognized the importance of international relations and intensified our efforts for collaborations to fast forward our development. Today, the university can boast of its central ITS, its data analytics center, and numerous innovation hubs. Nigeria has 200 million people and young people with a median age of 18.1 years. 70% of Nigerians are below 30 years and 42% below 15 years. This means that many Nigerians will grow into a future that is fully digitized, on which decisions are based on evaluations of huge amounts of data that can better personalize and optimize outcomes. We as a country cannot afford to be left out of this. The University of Lagos is working hard to ensure that the 60,000 students that we take care of at any point in time are digitally and technologically enabled to be competitive nationally and globally. We look forward to working with our alumni, the private sector, and friends of the university. And we are thankful for this foundation, for what it is doing and bringing people here to the university. So again, I thank you for what you are doing. I thank you for this foundation. I thank you for the vision of Professor Ibidapo-Obe, and I'm looking forward to this event. I am sure we will all leave this place changed and inspired to do more. Thank you very much and welcome.
With the permission of the chair, I'll just do a few more recognitions very quickly. It's a pleasure to welcome distinguished Professor and Mrs. Babajide Alo, FAS. You're welcome. Also, a very distinguished education is here, Dr. Phillips. It's a pleasure to have you here, man. Then Professor and Dr. Mrs. Odushote, you're welcome. Then also one of our good friends, Professor Sam Shola Oshisoy, all the way from Oklahoma, you're welcome. Professor Duroni, former DVC Unilag, you're welcome. Former Dean of Engineering, Professor Falade, you're welcome. And Mrs. Olomolei, it's certainly a pleasure to have you here. Just like it's our pleasure to have people who are members of the extended family. Mrs. Adebanjo, you're welcome. Mrs. Dukwelawale, you're welcome. And also Mr. and Mrs. Adeshulu, it's a pleasure to have you here. Now it's time to listen to the man whose business is to coordinate the activities here today. So it's my pleasure to invite Emeritus Professor Olaide Abbas, FAS, ON, Professor of Computer Science, University of Lagos, and former active Vice Chancellor of this same university, to give the chairman's opening remarks. Thank you very much.
The Vice Chancellor, University of Lagos, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Kabiyesi, please permit me to adopt the protocol ably established by our Vice Chancellor. and go straight to the challenges that I perceive we face in this country when it comes to the issue of big data, which I believe is the central theme of this symposium today. First, I'd like to thank the organizers of this symposium, which is being organized as in memory of our dear friend and brother, Professor Ibidapo-Obe. The issue of data in this country, when it comes to big data, there are two problems. Most of our data exists, but they are not digitized. That's the first challenge we face. We have data, but our data are not digitized. And therefore, if we are thinking of taking part in digital economy, we have to take steps in digitizing our data. Secondly, during COVID-19, the world all over experienced one thing, that people who are not digitally transformed, companies that are not digitally transformed had to perish. Most of our data here, except in the backing data, are not transformed. Therefore, we cannot take advantage of digital economy. That is why we at data professionals, in conjunction with Unilag Council, which ably was launched by Professor Ibidapo-Obe, we organized a 3-day workshop on digital transformation. And without digital transformation, most of the things we aim to do, we cannot do it. Thirdly, I like to say that big data brings a big problem. What is it? Cybersecurity. Our data are not properly secured. And digital complicates the problem of securing our data. Nationally, we have regulations on cybersecurity. We have no law on cybersecurity. So it's important as we go and handle big data and discuss all these issues, we should have, and legislators should let us look at cybersecurity and let us have laws on cybersecurity. What we have are regulations which are not enforceable in any law. I don't want to bore you, the participants in this occasion, but quickly I'd like us to move to the topic. But before I do so, I'd like to thank our sister, Mrs. Olushola, for organizing this occasion. We'll keep that flying. Wish you well. I thank you and everybody. Thank you, and I welcome you to this symposium.
Please, can we put our hands together once more for the chairman? Thank you very much. Of course, while the chairman was delivering his speech, one of our special guests came in, and of course, it's a face we're all familiar with on the tube. A broadcaster, a former member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Dr. Abike Dabiri-Erewa, and now the CEO in charge of the Diaspora Commission. You're welcome, madam. It's a pleasure to have you here. As we lead gradually to the end of the opening ceremony before we go to session 1, it's my pleasure to invite that distinguished personality who will be presenting the keynote address. And we have the presenter all the way from the United States Air Force Institute of Technology, Dayton in Ohio, from the US, and where, of course, he is Dean of Engineering, Professor Deji Badiru. It's my pleasure to invite Professor Badru to deliver the keynote address. Professor Badru, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm very, very delighted to be here. I always tell my audience that I hardly prepare for a talk. I might put up slides, but I wait until I see the mood of the audience and the caliber of people that I have in my audience, and I adjust my talk accordingly. Even though I have these slides, I'm even more enthused this morning about the presence of Professor Olaide Abbas. I saw his name on the program, and I was delighted that I will get to see him again. The theme of my talk is about big data and artificial intelligence. I'm going to get to the slides in a minute, but all my speeches start with a story. And that's why people accuse me of doing deja vu stories. It was in 1993 that Professor Olaide Abbas introduced me to the topic of artificial intelligence in a developing country. Professor Ibidapo-Obe had introduced me to him in computer science, and I had been doing some things in the US in expert systems. And Oye said, speak with Professor Olaide Abbas, and I've never forgotten that name, Olaide Abbas. Because he was doing great things in computer science that Nigeria could benefit from. And I took that to heart. And everything that I've done related to artificial intelligence since then, I've always thought of how that could be manifested within the domains of Nigeria. And I'm glad you mentioned the difficulties and impediments that we face in actualizing data values in Nigeria. So a lot of what I've done, I can trace to your mentorship earlier on. And Vice Chancellor, I'm also delighted that you did mention him as your mentor at some point. My relationship with Unilag goes back many, many years. I went to St. Finbar's College, and we often escaped from campus there to come to Unilag, sometimes to hunt for crabs. And I always aspired to go to Unilag. Fortunately, I had it, unfortunately also, I had a scholarship to travel abroad. Since I've been abroad, I've always been affiliated with Unilag. Many people think I'm a graduate of Unilag. That is the kind of relationship I have with Unilag. So, Professor Ibidapo-Obe, we first met in 1990 time frame. Okay. This is important in the context of national development, because that was how Oye lived his life. He was totally committed to the development of Nigeria as a nation. So he was the national coordinator for Talk 10. That is transfer of knowledge through expatriate nationals. Oh, thank you. Now they can hear me. So I was one of the consultants for United Nations at that time. That was how we met. And since then, we've become like brothers. When he passed 2 years ago, I was totally demoralized because he pushed me. We published many books, but he was the one who always would ask, Deji, when are we going to write the next book? And I'll say, at your level, you have so many things to worry about. Oh, you shouldn't be pushing to write. Oh, no, we must write that book. We need to teach Nigeria. We need to do this. We need to do big data. We need to do AI. That was him. When he passed, I had sent him an email in response to his next request about when are we going to do the next book. So I sent him an email. And Oye will always respond to me within 1 day. It was 2 days, 3 days, I did not get his response. Then I sent him another email that my wife's birthday was coming, and he used to call my wife his doctor, because whenever he said something, my wife would say, take this medicine, take that medicine. So my wife was having her birthday, and I still didn't hear anything from him. And the next thing I knew, Bambo called the US and broke the news. For days I was demoralized. I said, that's why he did not respond. At that time, my email was already waiting. He was already in the hospital, and I didn't know. I would have loved to speak with him in those waning days. But the opportunity now is here for us to recognize what this man meant to the whole nation of Nigeria. Not just to Unilag. He was a Unilag person to the core. He had many opportunities to relocate overseas. He said, no, I belonged to Unilag. And that's how he lived his life. So it is in his honor that I have made a special effort to be here today. I missed the one last year. I did it virtually, but I got a mandate from Mrs. Ibidapo-Obe 1 year ago. You must come in person for the next one. So I put it on my agenda, and I prepared a 2-hour lecture for this event. Then I got to Nigeria. She gave me 15 minutes. And I asked her, who is going to stop me at 15 minutes? So we'll see how it goes. So let's go to the topic. Beyond the hype of big data and artificial intelligence, human intelligence, in my view, should be integrated into the technical aspects of AI. I spoke at a NATO conference in Washington, D.C. About 2 months ago. It is the same theme that NATO said, well, nobody has mentioned this before, because we take our human beings for granted, because we have the technical tools of AI. Then my point is that humans still hold the intelligence. And whatever the data is, the data must be actualized in the context of human intelligence, which is related to what Professor Laide Abbas mentioned. We have so much data. So next slide, please. Where is the operator? Okay. I had already mentioned most of this. Oh. How many people are from Ebonyi State? Somebody from Ebonyi State? Okay. You represent the state in this case. You all know that Oye, just to tell you how close we were, was the founding vice chancellor for a university in Ebonyi State. When he started that job, he invited me to come and become a sub-dean or something with him there, because he said he didn't want us to break our intellectual relationship. So I gave him a nickname. And I promised him that I will popularize that nickname at that time, but I didn't have an opportunity to do it until now. The nickname I gave him was Oyechukwu of Ebonyi State. And that tells you the caliber of this individual. He felt at home everywhere. He visited me in the US several times in my institution, and in each case, it was like he was a part of the system. So this is something that I'm very proud. He was a man, truly a man of the nation, everywhere he went. So this is in recognition of that. These are the books that he wrote, or people wrote about him, and he and I published 2, which he kept saying we needed to do more. He has an unwavering commitment to eminence. Next slide. Okay, these are pictures. Again, it's all about data, but we'll get there. Oye, in spite of his magnificent accomplishments, he was still like a kid in some respect. He would joke around. He would fellowship with anyone, anywhere, anytime. He came to visit us in Tennessee. He saw my Jaguar car. He fell in love with the car. He said he must take the car back to Nigeria. And I said, well, you have to fight my wife for it. So she said, okay, you will take a picture from the front and from the back of the car, so that you will have that with him, that if you don't have the physical car, you will have the pictures. So again, this is somebody who felt at home in many, many respects. So let's move forward. Okay, the premise of my talk today is that, again, Professor Olaide Abbas will appreciate it. Data, data, big data everywhere. Not a bite to chew on. And that's my own parody of the rhyme of the ancient mariner, which many of us know from Samuel Taylor Coleridge's poem, originally published in 1798. I like using this again and again to impress on the audience and the nation that data is not our problem. It's managing the data to do effective decisions and implement what we need to do. So that's what that quote talks about. Next slide. So the implication for this is that you have a situation whereby, despite being surrounded by something, we cannot benefit from it because it is not in the right form or it is not accessible. Again, which Professor Olaide Abbas mentioned. And we did not talk before. So you can tell that we've gone back a long way. I think like he does. Big data and artificial intelligence tools may be hyped, and in fact, are being hyped now all around us. But we have limited benefit from them. As of now, in the context of human intelligence. So the more we can integrate human intelligence into big data and AI, the more we can realize the hyped benefits. Even in the US, this is the same thing I say. AI is of no use until you incorporate human intelligence to work side by side. So we must move beyond the hype through systems integration methodologies. Next. So the resurgence of, I need to hold this so quick, so close like this. Better, okay. The resurgence of AI is facilitated by the availability of high-powered computers nowadays. There is nothing that is being done in AI now that we had not done before. We just could not implement the theoretical basis of AI because the computers were limited. Now we have the computers. Now everybody can do AI. And they try to tell us like AI is something new. It's not new. Professor Oyewusi has been doing it for decades. Okay? So now we have machine learning, autonomous systems. So we can develop new and innovative applications. We can develop new techniques of searching through our large data. And one of those is called the Cantor set sectioning, which Oye and I worked on around 1999. Okay? And we published an article on that too. Going back to my theme of getting humans in the loop, no, we all have our GSM phones, smartphones now. What goes in the phone is on the basis of the human intelligence that we put in there. Some people fear that AI will become so proficient, they will take over our lives. But that's only to the extent that we allow AI to do that. We should control the data. We should use our own intelligence in collaboration with the technical capabilities of the systems to do what we need to do. Next slide. Mathematically, there are methodologies. Again, in computer science, we do that for big data and AI. My own focus here is the social considerations. And I've been in Nigeria now for 2 weeks in preparation for this seminar. And I've seen on the streets how labor intensive many things are. How we have human capital, but how we have not been able to leverage the human capital for proper and sustainable development. The next thing somebody will tell us is that if we get AI, everything will be fine. No, it will not be fine until we find a way for our humans within the human capital of Nigeria to really utilize the AI tools. So this is what this is talking about. And in this process, I take pride in always citing Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I've been fortunate to have managed a lot of people in different organizations for decades. And in each case, whether I'm dealing with somebody at the high table, like Vice Chancellor, or somebody at the cleaning level, I look at the hierarchy of needs of each person. Because data that is between us can only be manifested if I know where each person is coming from. So my lesson here is how we adapt ourselves to what the needs are of our audience, of our partners, of our workforce, even of the organization. Next slide. And I've used this example many times around the world. I've had the opportunity to speak to different groups. You know, if we say we are dependent on AI, we talk of pattern recognition, machine learning, machine vision. All of those cannot match human ability to recognize data. So this is what is talking. So I've conducted an experiment of my car in the parking lot. So next slide. Okay. See here, if I park my car in any large parking lot, if I get to the parking lot, I do not need to see the entire vehicle before I can recognize my car. So in the far left example, all I saw was just a small bit of the end of the vehicle, and I knew that was my vehicle. As I approached, I saw more, and I know that's indeed my vehicle. And as I approach further, now I know that is my vehicle. Now, give that to AI to do. Well, it can do it, but what will be needed? Big data. It will ask for millions and millions of bytes of data, putting it together, doing the modeling, doing the extraction, hypolation, and whatever technical terms we use before it can tell me that is the car. So I use this to impress upon us that human intelligence and ability to recognize things can never be matched by any AI system. It can assist, but it cannot supplement or overtake the human ability in intelligence. So that's one good example. Next slide. Okay, here, I didn't even see, on the left, I didn't even see the car directly, but I could see through the windshield of another vehicle, and yet I could tell. Now, if AI was going to do that, it will scan the entire scene, then it will have to get more data from the other side of the parking lot before it can do the extrapolation of data to really determine the vehicle. Okay. Next slide. So all of this will bring us to the idea of systems, which was a passion for Oyewusi Ibidapo-Obe. We all talk about systems all the time. So using a systems approach, a system is a collection of interrelated elements whose collective output together in unison is higher than the simple addition of the individual outputs of the elements. We have many students in the audience today. We have many professors. Keep this in mind. Put it on the next exam for the systems engineering student. They ought to be able to recount this. So as we're in this hall, we're a system, but we all bring in our individual capabilities. When we harness all the individual capabilities, we can do marvelous things beyond what individuals can do alone. That's the sense of systems engineering. Madam Vice Chancellor, you have a great system in the Unilag enterprise. But within that system, there are individual subsystems. To whatever extent, we can use data to manifest the capabilities of those individual elements, the better we can achieve the overall goal of the big Unilag system. And that's something that we all need to recognize. Everyone in this audience brings something to the table. Young, old, poor, rich, affluent, destitute. As long as you are in the system, you have something to offer. So when I write a report about what transpired today, I'm going to say we are all a part of generating that output. It's all on the basis of the data. Next slide. Madam Vice Chancellor, you mentioned some of the elements here. Professor Oyewusi, you mentioned some of this, but you said we only have regulations but no laws. Yes. When we are going to actualize the value of data, we must recognize that there are so many aspects. Again, from a systems perspective, there is an external debt at the national level, full supply chain, that goes back to our individual needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. How do you tell somebody who is hungry to come in here and sit for 4 hours and listen to a professor? Because the person will be thinking, where am I going to get the next food, the next meal? All of those affect how the system performs. When I speak with national leaders, I use this to emphasize that you cannot neglect any portion of the nation, because the workforce consists of ordinary people who need their daily meals, and that's what they worry about. All of these are interconnected as a system. Without belaboring this, the issue is, as Professor Oyewusi has mentioned, there should be laws that will help us to actualize the concept of utilizing big data. So we have to move beyond the hype. We have to go to the actualization. Next slide. I mentioned the hierarchy of needs before in the context of what each person needs. Even as we're sitting here, each one of us is thinking of whatever his or our own needs are. Basic human needs. Some people are hungry, so that's all they are worrying about. Some people worry when they live here, they have to go through dangerous roads. Security is something they worry about, on and on and on. It's time to stop. Okay. This is not the first time I've been giving notes. When I say who is going to stop me, I think you are the one appointed to stop me, right? Okay. Very good. I like this. Okay, next slide. Okay, I will not talk much about this because I've said most of the things that go into this. The idea is that we have inputs, we have the process, and then we have the output. The inputs usually consist of people, the workforce, the infrastructure. The process consists of rules, regulations, laws that will enable actions. And then you get the output. The output could be physical products, could be a concept, could even be students that come out of Unilag, who then will manifest the concept of education around the world. Next slide. So, in the context of deciding which way we go, I'm saying that human intelligence is still the primary avenue. We may have big data, we may have AI, we may have machine vision and all of those. But in the final analysis, human intelligence, in consonance with technical tools, will be the way to go. So now let's go fast forward. Okay, communication is a good aspect of all this we're talking about. We must learn to communicate up and down. As I mentioned earlier, everyone in the audience is important, and important in the context of either receiving information or providing information. Many times we really don't do a good job of that, which means we do not do data transmission effectively. So this is what this one talks about. Next slide. The ecosystem of big data is a complex network of people, process, and tools. AI and big data are the tools. Process. Professor Oyewusi has mentioned laws, regulations, policies, those are important. But in my view, people are the most important because we hold the intelligence. But the ecosystem of big data is that all of this must work together. Next slide. This has nothing to do with my name. It's a coincidence. People don't believe me when I say that. The DG systems model tells us how we can design whatever we want. We can do the evaluation economically. We can do the justification, feasibility studies. But in the final analysis, we must integrate whatever we have into the infrastructure that we have. There is a whole book on this. But this is just to tell you that integration is the final element of getting effective output out of big data. Next slide. I think this is the conclusion. Even though I still have 5 minutes, I'm going to conclude here. We designed the model based on big data and AI. We evaluate the model. We justify why we need the model. And then we integrate it into the prevailing operating environment through human communication, human cooperation, and human coordination. So I thank you so much for bearing with me through this. He's a good man. I did not invite him to come and take and he's already coming. Take your time. All this that I've said, I've been fortunate to have had the opportunity to work with government institutions in Nigeria to make recommendations and to actually implement some of these things we're talking about. But I don't think we've implemented many of these to the extent that we are capable of. And that's why I keep talking about the same thing again and again. So it's a deja vu all over again. So I thank you. There is a book that I have several copies of that we are going to make sure we get a copy for everyone on the high table. And then we have more copies that will be available here. We'll put them over there. So let's give students the first shot at getting the books. We professors, we've read books before. Let students get them first. So, Mr. Akuyeba, you already brought, yeah? So make sure we give to the high table first, and then we'll put the rest there. Okay. While that is going on, whether I want to give it to you or not, I know you are going to wrestle. So here you go. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Please, can we put our hands together for Professor Deji Badru? We really have to thank Professor Badru for two things. One, for keeping to the principle of 5 minutes. And two, for really presenting a very, very good lecture. Once more, Professor Deji Badru, thanks a million. Can we put our hands together for him once more time? Two things. One, I quickly want to recognize two people who occupy more or less the same position, one former, one present. They are both Deputy Vice Chancellors and Deputy Vice Chancellors of Academic and Research. The former, Professor Wole Familoni, and the current, Professor Bola Obo. It's a pleasure to have both of you here. Just a minor change, a very minor change in the program schedule here. As we begin session one, just before the close of this, we will now fast forward the special citation of Ibidapo-Obe so that really we can answer the question, who was Ibidapo-Obe, so that we know why we're here. And then after that, the session one comes on. And finally, towards the end of session two, we would also listen to a few words from Professor Professor Bello. Sorry, because we are used to calling him our good friend Arabi. Yes. He will talk to us briefly about the proposed Oyewusi Ibidapo-Obe Technical University. That is just an addition. Thank you very much. Once more, I thank you. I thank the presenter. And lady, could you please take over? Thank you.
Please, can we give Professor Badru a fantastic, I was cutting between taking notes and also coordinating. Very, very awesome session. Thank you so much, sir. So much to take away with. But I would love to reiterate what he said towards the closing. He said human intelligence plus technical tools is the way forward. Honestly, there's so much to really, really glean from all you have said. At this time, I would like to welcome Honorable Dr. Abike Dabiri Erewa for a special citation of late Emeritus Professor Oyewusi Ibidapo-Obe. Thank you very much.
Okay, good morning. Let me pay my respect and compliments to everyone on the high table. Our sister, Vice Chancellor, Professor Ogunshola, good morning. Nice to see you again. Professor Okebukola, good morning. Professor Abbas, Ekarosa. Kabiesi, Kadekwelori, Kibata Kwelese. Professor Mr. Ogunye, good afternoon, sir. Chams, my brother from Ife, good morning. And of course, our woman of the moment, our very beautiful Mrs. Ibidapo-Obe. Can we just give her a resounding applause? And our speaker, Professor Deji. Thank you so much. I've told him I have to look for him because he's in the diaspora. We need you to come out and implement what you just said. I will want you back home. Don't jackpot forever, Emma Boyle. Good morning. Really, it's my privilege to read. When Prof said they gave him 2 hours, this citation is a book on its own. But we're going to read it all through to celebrate a man of excellence. So here is the citation of the late Emeritus Professor Oyewusi Ibidapo-Obe. Professor I'm sure you don't know him, so let's just listen properly. Professor Oyewusi Ibidapo-Obe was born on July 5, 1949, to the illustrious Ibidapo-Obe family of Elisha in Osun State. He started his education in 1954 at Temidire Preparatory School, which was a model private school, nursery school at that time. There, his talent as a gifted child was first spotted, and is shown even brighter when he went to Lagos Street African Church School in Ebutimeta in Lagos. In 1957, that was when his parents relocated from Elisha to Lagos. And I'm glad they did. But he had to return home in 1962, go back to Elisha, where he gained admission to Oboku High School, which is now Elisha Grammar School. And I'm sure we know many prominent graduates of the school. It was renowned then for having a 100% pass record in the Cambridge School Certificate Examination. His generous disposition and desire to make it big in life earned him the nickname Rockefeller, after the renowned John D. Rockefeller. Of course, we all know the American business magnate and philanthropist. The nickname that has stuck to him in later years of his life, and we used to call Madame Mrs. Rockefeller too. On earning the school certificate in 1966, he proceeded to the prestigious Igbobi College in Lagos later that year, where he studied very hard, and I said very hard, and obtained his A-level papers in record time. With his brilliant performance, he secured admission to all the frontline universities, Nigerian universities at that time. I remember that in those days, it was the dull students that went abroad. All the brightest students were admitted here. So if you went abroad in those days, you didn't pass. Thank you. Great Fair, Unilag. You are. Please clap for Nigerian educational system. Emma Binusa, you will debate it, but I know you went abroad, sir. Great Fair, great Unilag, great Akokites. So, well, he got admitted to every Nigerian university. Lagos, Ibadan, Nsukka, Ife, Ahmadu Bello, and even the University of Newcastle upon Tyne in the United Kingdom. But guess what? He opted for the University of Lagos. So you see, I'm still correct, sir. Sir, he opted for the University of Lagos. Although they admitted him in the UK, he stood back home. Having earlier interacted with some of his friends who had gained admission to the school. There, Professor Ibidapo-Obe pursued his studies with greater vigor. And not only did he score a first class in his course in mathematics. Oh, me, I got P7, oh, but I thought I would get F9. So with that P7, I couldn't study political science. I ended up studying English. He got what? First class in mathematics. And not only that, he also emerged the best graduating student of the university in 1971, before some of us were born, including me. Don't worry. I'm still very young. It was a glorious moment for Oye Ibidapo-Obe, as he also bagged all the prizes for the year, including the Vice Chancellor's Prize for the Best Graduating Student, the Dean's Prize, the Faculty Prize, NUPEMCO Prize, National School Fund Prize, and the Birmingham Prize. This outstanding performance at the University of Lagos earned him an appointment as a graduate assistant at the university in 1972. And not only that, he got a Commonwealth scholarship to study at the University of Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, where he obtained the master's degree, MSc in Applied Mathematics, with a minor in Computer Science in 1973, and a Doctor of Philosophy in Civil Engineering, with specialization, in Applied Mechanic Systems in 1976. Introduction and reinvigoration of discipline-based students' association societies, among several other innovations that this great man introduced. Professor Oye Ibidapo-Obe served meritoriously on several university committees and boards, including those of appointments and promotions, endowment, halls of residence management, Center of Cultural Studies, health center management, timetable, tenders, and minor contracts. Now, his rising profile at the University of Lagos saw him emerge as Deputy Vice Chancellor in April 2000, and 5 months later, Acting Vice Chancellor, and then he became the substantive Vice Chancellor on May 1, 2002, a position he held till April 30, 2007, when he successfully completed his brilliant tenure as Vice Chancellor. He envisaged during his tenure as Vice Chancellor a university that would ascend to the enviable height of the best tertiary institution in Nigeria. Hence, he crafted that slogan, University of First Choice and the nation's pride. And Unilag has so remained. As chairman of the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities, he distinguished himself as recipient of the award of the Best Vice Chancellor's Prize for the Nigerian university system for 2 years consecutively. He won it in 2004 and he won it in 2005. A globally renowned academic, Professor Oye Ibidapo-Obe was a resource person at many academic fora in different universities across the world, and also served on many reputable international committees and boards. He was a group coordinator, International Labour Organization, ILO, pioneer and national coordinator, United Nations Development Program, and member, UNESCO's Virtual Institute for Higher Education in Africa, to mention just a few. And here in Nigeria, recognition came for this renowned academic when he was awarded the National Honor of Officer of the Order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, OFR, in 2004. Years later, in 2001, he was appointed the pioneer vice chancellor of the Federal University, now Alex Ekwueme University in Ebonyi State. So we now know why our dear lecturer named him the Oyechukwu of Ebonyi State. And that was who Prof was. Everywhere he went, he was a transformer. So here in Ebonyi State, he used his vast administrative skills to transform the university into a world-class institution during his 5-year tenure. He was the pro-chancellor of 3 Nigerian universities: the First Technical University, TechU, Ibadan; Crawford University in Ogun State; as well as the vice chairman of the board and chairman of council, Africa University of Science and Technology in Abuja. A man of academic distinction, Professor Oyewusi Ibidapo-Obe had numerous publications to his credit, especially in his area of specialization, control and information systems. Now, his notable works, which were published either as books or articles in reputable international professional journals, included Stochastic Optimization, Problems in Engineering, Reliability Studies. I think that is one book. You see, too much Oyibo. Simulation and Animation Studies, with application for urban transportation, water resources, biometrics, expert systems, and so on. He pioneered studies in stochastic methods in mechanics and the development of computer algorithms applying martingale concepts to the control of nonlinear dynamical systems. That was in 1975. He was also part of the pioneering efforts on robotic development and applications, especially in the area of sensors and actuators placement since 1981. His extraordinary talent also earned him studying appointments in industries such as Zenith Bank Group, comprising Zenith Bank PLC, Zenith General Insurance Company Limited, Prudential Zenith Life Insurance Limited, and Quantum Zenith Capital Prudential Limited, where he was a non-executive director. He was also on the boards of Cyberspace Limited, Venus Medicare Limited, Chams PLC, Winlot Limited, and Zynox Technologies. Now, Professor Ibidapo-Obe was a member of the African Union, NEPAD, AU NEPAD, High-Level Africa Panel in Emerging Technologies from 2016 to 2021, and also a member of the National Space Research and Development Agency. He was on the Technology Advisory Committee from 2018 to 2021. Prof was a fellow of both the Academics of Science and Engineering, FAE, as well as those of the Nigerian Institute of Management, African Academy of Science, the American Society of Civil Engineering, and the Academy of Sciences for the Developing World. The traditional title holder of Oluomo of Ijesaland and Akpeluwa of Ife, the source, as well as Oyechukwu of Ebonyi, which got conferred on him by you, sir. He was married to the beautiful barrister Olushola Ibidapo-Obe Ni Ojutalayo. Madam, stand up again. I mean, appreciate this wonderful, beautiful woman, amazing mother, wife, a woman of excellence, just like your husband. We celebrate you too, madam. And they are blessed with 4 children and a number of grandchildren. He was a devout Christian of the Anglican persuasion and a prominent member of both the Band of Light and Christian Friends Society of Archbishop Biennial Memorial Church Cathedral in Lagos as well as Baba Egbe of his home church, the Cathedral Church of the Holy Trinity in Ilesha. Professor Ibidapo-Obe's passion for education, which earned him a pride of place in the academic world and the society in general, made him to set up the Oye Ibidapo-Obe Foundation for Educational Transformation as part of activities marking his 70th birthday in 1979. What a vision. In 2020, he was honored as Emeritus Professor at the University of Lagos, where he had a distinguished career spanning 47 years, 1971 to 2019. The award was conferred on him posthumously in July 2021 during the university's convocation. He passed on to eternal glory on January 3rd, 2021. Today, 3 years on, we celebrate a man of excellence, a man of greatness, the very best, a man of passion, performance, a positive influencer, empathetic person, and an excellent communicator. And I also take from your lecture, sir, and I'll call him a man of communication, cooperation, and coordination. And a man of both human and artificial intelligence. So that is Professor Ibidapo-Obe. We celebrate him. He's resting beyond, and I know that he's looking down and he's a very happy person because, Madam, his legacy will live on forever and ever and ever.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abike Dabere. And why I said so much about, oh yeah, can we please all rise? I request that we all rise for just 1 minute. Madam, please stay here in honor of a great friend, a fantastic academic and academician, a great teacher, and indeed a distinguished systems engineer. One minute of silence. May the gentle soul of Oye Ibidapo-Obe continue to rest in peace. Can we put our hands together once more for the presenter? Thank you very much.
And I would like to welcome Emeritus Professor Peter Okebukola, OFR, former Executive President, UNESCO's African Network for Innovations in Higher Education, and former Executive Secretary for the Nigerian University Commission, to speak on digital tools for real-time data collection in education. Please, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The chair of the occasion of this second biennial symposium, Professor Olayide Abbas, Vice Chancellor of this great university. Unfortunately, I didn't have that honor and privilege to attend University of Lagos. When I come, well, I can't come again. But if there is that possibility, University of Lagos will be my first choice, and I'll be happy to receive a degree from here. Professor Folashade Ogunshola, you are doing well. You are doing very well. I've been tracking your trajectory over the last several months since you assumed office, and I tell you, on all fronts, God is helping you to move well. And you are in my prayers to continue on that upward trajectory. Mommy, Mrs. Ibidapo-Obe, I'd like to thank you, Mom. I'd like to thank you. Where's Mama? She's busy over there. Okay. for being such a wonderful wife to my friend, late friend, Oyewusi Ibidapo-Obe. On several occasions that I have visited you in your home, I was able to see genuine love. I was able to see the care that you gave to Professor Ibidapo-Obe. May God keep caring for you now that he is gone. I've seen a couple of my friends here, several of them, but I'd like to recognize some of them. Professor Emeritus Babajide. This university is blessed, very blessed, with giants in academia, giants in the industry in terms of their extension service. Emeritus Professor Babajide, I can see Professor Denloye. Professor Denloye is also over there. Professor Duroni, where is he? He's left the room. Professor Duroni. Honorable Dr. Abike Dabiri, you are just in a class of your own. You were given some script, well, you broadcasted some script, and you laced it with so much glamour, so much humor. That is awesome. Chivalade Komo, I'd like to thank you too for being such a wonderful friend to Professor Ibidapo-Obe. 23 years ago, I ran into a man. That was my first contact with him. And his chemistry and mine, maybe his mathematics and mine, gelled. I was given the opportunity to be the executive secretary of the National Universities Commission. And when I had meetings with the vice chancellors, I found one of them to be really striking. Striking in terms of intelligence, striking in terms of his applying himself to his terms of reference as a vice chancellor, and that was Oyewusi Ibidapo-Obe. The Department of State of the US used to give us, maybe it's still on, a facility at NUC. They'll take a couple of vice chancellors, 12 of them every year, to the US. We select the universities, we do a gap analysis, this is where we are, this is where I want to be in the next 5 years. So, which universities will fit into that model? We'll form that sample that we can visit. So this picture you are seeing here was taken in 2002 when we went on that mission, study visit to American universities. That was Oyewusi Ibidapo-Obe. That's he, a great man. Here was a vice chancellor who believed so much in his university, who knew where the shoe pinches, if you like, where the shoe pinched, and he will go to different universities all over the world to sign memoranda of understanding, partnerships, to support development in his university. Some of these photos exemplify that. He was a man who liked big food. We are talking about big data, big food, this man. When we go, Oye will take a mound of ration. So there he was. The man on his left used to be the vice chancellor of Federal University of Technology, Minna. So what am I here to do? The next 15 minutes or so, I've been asked to speak on digital tools for real-time data collection in education, but I thought that I could situate it, that big data concept, within the Nigerian educational system. So that's what I intend doing. Big data, we've learned about it big. There was this boy who was working with his dad, and he saw an airplane in the sky. So that was that's an aeroplane. Oh, that's small. So the dad took him to the airport. And when he saw it, this big, is that the kind of thing that I saw up there? So yes, it's that big. When we talk about big data, there's actually no minima, maxima, just big. Big is big. And I've tried to provide some definition here and some characteristics, or if you like, attributes of big data. Volume, veracity, variety, value, and the rest that you can see there. So, in the University of Lagos today, January the 5th, 2024, how much of data are we generating? I tried to figure that out. So who are the people? In the university today, we have, just give me a minute. By the data that I gleaned from NUC sources, by 2022, you can just top this up by about 5% or so. We had 56,000 students in this university. Let's assume that this community now has 56,000 students. We have, we had there, so, but like I said, top it up a little bit. About 1,600 teaching staff, about 3,000 non-teaching staff. So, if you can see our Vice Chancellor, she's busy generating data, a lot of it. Sending a WhatsApp message, replying to our email. Honorable Dr. Abikadabiri, in a little while will come up with a phone and be generating data. So take all the students in this university today. So what will you find them doing with their handheld devices, with their laptops, in the offices, in the works department, uploading videos, live data? So I've tried to, just a guess, that this university will be generating between 10, is a wide range, 10 to 25 terabytes of data. I'm holding here one of my backup drives. This little device holds 4 terabytes of data, 4 terabytes. So I'm thinking that this university will be generating as much as 10 to 25,000. So where are these sources? Where are the data coming from? In the educational system, we have, Professor Badru, the keynote address speaker, talking about systems. In the educational system, we have input into it, and I'm going to use the University of Lagos as an example. The input into the University of Lagos, the inputs include the students. So for the student data point, you have nothing less than 20 variables that are collecting data on. Their ages, their gender, their socioeconomic status, and the others. Teachers being input. Those of us that are here are teachers. Of course, we have our students here. So teachers, qualification, experience, Enugu State, Ebonyi State, state of origin, and the rest of them, getting data from there. Not teaching staff and all the rest that you can see on the screen. What about the process? Process, okay, yes, you bring in the input. It's just like trying to make some soup. Get tomatoes, get onions, get some vegetables, and then mix them together. So the students come, the teachers come, you have input like facilities, the laboratories, the workshops. So there, teaching and learning interactions are happening. Data coming up, plenty. So the output, you have all of this. Now, there's this book which I only brought a copy, which I'm going to give to, I'll give it to her later, to Ms. Ibidapo-Obe for the new university that is coming up. It will be the first book that will be donated to that proposed university. So we now have all of this data coming up. So what do we do with the data? What do we do with the data? Several things we can do with the data. 5 months ago, the Virtual Institute for Capacity Building in Higher Education, that Professor Ibidapo-Obe was a member of the board. I serve as the director and facilitator general for that institute. We said, oh, data, yes. Let's bring our directors of academic planning together. We want a situation whereby the Minister of Education, or the Commissioner of Education in a state, or the Vice Chancellor of a university, or the Permanent Secretary, the Minister of Education, at different levels, will hold a device, laptop, desktop, and say, oh, I want to know the number of female students in the Nigerian university system. And there you get it, real-time data. Oh, I want to be able to know the number of staff in University of Lagos that have jackpot to Mama here, being in the diaspora. You know, when you leave one place, let your boss vacuum. You leave Nigeria, you could go somewhere now. So she will catch you there in the diaspora. I want to know. So we had set up a system of data management where at these different levels. So what did we do? I organized the training, and we had some experts join us at the level of the unit. You see, you have the unit, you have the department, you have faculty, and it goes up like that. At the level of the unit, maths, whatever specialization that there is, in maths, you collect data. We use very simple tools, and I'm going to come to a few of the tools now. Very simple, elementary tools. Access, Microsoft Access, to collect data. We set up the form. So you collect the data from your unit, and then it goes to the department. So all the units in the department will come together, department to faculty, and it goes on like that. And we set up a dashboard that at the level of NUC, the executive secretary can say, okay, looking at the dashboard, that dashboard is still existing. But you see, DAPs have changed, and new DAPs have come in. So, and that's a challenge that I'm going to be mentioning soon, where you don't have that kind of continuity. But we're going to end up training more DAPs. So, look at this first one, descriptive. What do you do with the data? So it could just be, just to give you a summary of how many students you have in University of Lagos. And our VC can, on the palm of our hand with our device there, get that data because it's coming raw, live from the units, from all the elements, from works department, from everywhere. How much of electricity are we using in Unilag per day? The data will come from bottom up. So that gives you visualization. Our dashboards, you need to see them. By the time our DAPs were graduating, you will be happy that this is happening in Nigeria. DAP of Unilag, Professor, the lady who has now moved on, participated in this. We had the dashboard. So you can visualize it. It will give you real time. As soon as data is changing from the input end, you will see a change. What about diagnostic, the data, diagnostic? You want to find out why some staff of the university are not up to it in terms of research. So that you want to find out the root causes and contributing factors. And you also can use data for prescription. What's the best course of action? And do simulation. Now you have the Gbajabi Amila Hall, 450 room hostel. How many can it take? Assume we'll double that. It will give you the scenario, we'll generate the thing, and what will be the implication for electricity, for water, for all the other elements that will go to generate that. Predictive to forecast future things. Now, I've been asked to talk about tools. When I use the word we have a consortium of people, NUC, National Open University of Nigeria, and the membership of the Virtual Institute. We have what we call the low-end tools, Excel, Access, Excel, and then we have the high-end tools. Let's look at the tools that we have been using and we are hoping to use for collecting real-time data. And that is applicable for all levels of education. Assessment tools, you can see them there. Data analysis, visualization tools, and interactivity tools. These are tools that we have used, and like I said, we'll continue to use. 2 weeks ago, we did a needs assessment. And we found that the lecturers in our universities, in our polytechnics, and in our colleges of education will need some kind of knowledge and some token skills on artificial intelligence. Because the thing, like the keynote address speaker said, is being bandied around as a buzzword. And you think it's right up there. It is not right up there. It's something we can relate with. And so we're running an 8-week training program, 8-week training program on the ABC of artificial intelligence. You are a professor of Yoruba. Hey, don't think artificial intelligence is only for the Olaide Abbas of this world. No, it's for us all. We want to lower the level, the energy level, lower it to the level that the professor of English, like the MC there, or professor of physics, or professor of maths, professor of Yoruba, Hausa, can relate with. So that is going to happen, and that is going to significantly transform what we have here. Now, there are the selection tools, which that's my source there, digital tools for that, tool selection criteria. And then the methods for data collection, for data analysis, for data dissemination, visualization, you have them here. Time will not permit me to go through all of this, but I am offering that to continue to make this, to train or to work with ourselves and train us in getting up to a passable level in the use of these tools. There are challenges, quite a number of challenges. I've just put my finger on a couple of them. One is capacity deficit, human capacity deficit. There are quite a large number of friends, colleagues in the system that are mathophobic. They don't like mathematics. They talk about data, they run away from it, but not knowing that, well, the thing can be lowered up to a point where everybody, most people, if you like, can participate in it. So we have many of our colleagues are not right there. So there's a gap between where they are now and where they should be. But I don't have any problem at all with that. Because in my next slide, you will see how we're going to tackle that. We also have physical challenges in terms of provision of internet tools, ICT tools, and the rest. And the other one is inertia to change. Hey, you will get professor. Say, I have 4 more years to this, don't hassle me. I have 4 more years to retire. Don't hassle me. You know what I tell them? So, yes, you are going to retire. But you are going to retire into, I'm so sorry I'm using that word, doom. For the reason that if you are contemporary, just learn a few things. How much is your contributory pension going to give to you? I retired about 3 years ago as a professor emeritus. I don't earn, what I earn is shameful to be mentioned to Honorable Dr. Ibidapo-Obe. Shameful to be mentioned. But you see, because of this little training, little knowledge, little skills that you have, you can offer service there and pick up 1 naira, 2 naira elsewhere. So for those, and there are many, inertia to change. Look at Professor Oyewusi there. He's sought after everywhere. This is because he made himself available to be trained outside his analytical chemistry. The man did for environment, did for here and there. So that's a challenge. Now, what's the road ahead? That's where I'm concluding. We have to work hard on building our capacities. You know, sometimes I hear that, Nigerian professors are not that good. I just laugh. You see, if you have not seen the farm of somebody else, you say that your father's farm is the best or the worst. from my little operational base, I'm able to tell you that in the whole of Africa, there is no university system. There's no, I'm looking at the average person. I'm not looking at, when you plot the normal curve, the average professor in the university system, nobody in the whole of Africa, 55 countries, can beat the Nigerian professor. None. How do I know this? Over the last 10 years, I've gone through the whole of Africa. There's an EU program, EU program. The African Union is trying to set up the equivalent of the National Universities Commission for the whole of Africa. It's called the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Agency. And I was asked to lead a consultancy for developing that. It will soon come out of, you will soon see it appear on the horizon. So what did I do? I had to visit 44 African countries over a 10-year period. And I interacted with their staff, with the professors. And I found that nowhere. Go to any conference anywhere in the world. In Dayton or go there. You'll find that when you get professors from any parts of the world, you find that Nigerian professor, when he stands up to talk, they don't say, yes, man, don't come. But we still have some gaps that we need to fill. So we must continue to build our capacity, strengthen our capacities so that we can be there. This one, homegrown software. We're talking about data analytics, talking about artificial intelligence. I was so happy to learn, because I did this slide when I was going. I was so happy to learn from the Vice Chancellor that Unilag is doing very well in terms of their staff and students moving along the track. I'd like to advise that you invest more in this enterprise of getting homegrown software. And then we can have the Oyewusi educational big data analytics software. I'm sure that the Educational Trust Foundation of Mama, you will make some money available to University of Lagos to support the development of that software. So Unilag continue to be in the lead because Ibidapo-Obe was in the lead. As I close, I need to let you know how he got to be the best vice chancellor in Nigeria for 2 years running. You wonder, what is this concept, best vice chancellor? When I was executive secretary, my chairman of the governing board of NUC, Alhaji Maitama Sule, Damazarin Kano, traveled and he said, look, who is the best vice chancellor? Let's rank them. Who is the best vice chancellor in Nigerian University? I said, how? He said, well, all the vice chancellors, without fail, all of them have the same terms of reference. Your letter of appointment, what your terms of reference, your schedule of duties are the same. He said, okay. So what did I do? I had to invite some top-level administrators from all over the world, those that are served as presidents of universities in the US, vice chancellors in the UK, that have spent nothing less than 10 years in office. No, ours is 5, but 10 years more over there. So we assembled them. And then we asked Professor Akekugbe to be the chair. So what did that team do? That team asked the vice chancellors, portfolio, submit your portfolio, let's see what you have done, based on the terms of reference. And they went around everywhere. The first, in 2003, was a friend of Professor Ibidapo-Obe, Professor Nimi Briggs, who was Vice Chancellor, University of Port Harcourt. And then by 2004, Ibidapo-Obe told Briggs, now lie, this Unilag going to beat you flat. And Unilag came out as #1 and Ibidapo-Obe as #1. Not to make it a fluke that, just Ibidapo-Obe The following year, in 2005, also maintained its #1 position in the university system. So as I close, I remember him, a great friend, a great brother. It was fun to be with. It was a jolly good fellow. When you hear that label, jolly good fellow, your mind should go to Ibidapo-Obe. May so continue to rest in perfect peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please, can we celebrate Emeritus Professor Peter Okebukola, OFR, former Executive President, UNESCO. Please, can we appreciate him? Thank you so much, sir, for that time. That was so insightful.